to Shopping for the Real You. I am Andrea Flommer, the author of Shopping for the Real You, and we're back with my wonderful friend Brigitte Niosh, who is the author of a wonderful book called Living Longer, Living Well. I should start calling this the Andrea and Brigitte show.
At least at this moment.
Yeah. So, we're talking about a very important subject today, and we're taking a step away from what we usually talk about with fashion and style and all the things related to beauty as we get older. This is a subject that has come up very frequently among a lot of friends of mine in the past few months, even. And it's simply should you share your golden years with a roommate? Um, I know if you're fortunate enough to have a life partner that's still
That's true.
with you, that's wonderful, but
Right.
that's not guaranteed. So here's the first question I have for you. Um, should people share their space with another person?
Well, I think it depends on their own feeling. I mean, yes, I think they should, because I think loneliness, and there have been studies done on that, show that we die earlier when we're
That's right.
lonely and when we live alone. So, yeah, absolutely. Now, how to get there might be a little bit more difficult.
Yeah.
But let's first talk about the advantages of it. I
Yeah.
mean, your husband died, you have a big house you're living in, or even a medium-sized house, and the walls kind of fall in on you because you're all alone. Yeah.
Right.
So the
Right.
first thing it will overcome if you had a roommate is loneliness. And you
Hmm.
might not hold that roommate's hand all the time, but you know that down the corridor there is another person. And that makes
Right.
all the difference. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, and the second advantage is that you don't have to be afraid in the case you don't feel so well. Who would you call? Is anybody near? What can you do? We feel a little anxious sometimes, and it makes us feel sick sometimes. So knowing that somebody lives in the house with you is a great comfort, because you know you can
Absolutely.
just knock on their door, call their phone number, because they have their own phone, of course, and you're not alone. And the third advantage, which is very, very important, is financially. You don't have the bills to pay alone, because a lot of people have to leave their homes because they can't afford to
That's
stay
right.
there anymore.
That's right.
Now, and it's not just a help for the person who owns the home, it's also a help for the person who needs a home, who might not even have one and just have
Yeah.
a small income, and they
Right.
can't afford to rent anything like,
Right.
bigger. And when they get move in with somebody, their budget is helped, and the person who rents the room has an advantage. So these are the three things which I think are very much to be considered when a person feels alone or has trouble with their budget, or is afraid to be alone and not have somebody close by. Those are the three big things I think a roommate would help to overcome.
Absolutely. A woman I know who husband had recently died was, she was a little distracted and she was
Yeah.
walking in her house and she tripped on a rug and
See?
it's, almost displaced her shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, there was a house cleaner there that day who
Yeah,
helped
yeah,
her. But
right.
boy, these things can happen in an instant.
Right, right. And like I said, also just knowing that there's somebody else around makes you feel even
That's right.
safer.
That's
Yeah.
right.
And because you
That's right.
become unsure of yourself, if you're all by yourself and something would happen and you start to think about that, you become unsure. Yeah.
Right.
So
Right.
I think a roommate is really the answer for a lot of things. Now, a lot of people have had roommates when they were young. And everybody I talk to, they say, "Oh, we had a blast. It was so much fun." Yeah. It can be fun again.
That why not? Why not? And then
Why
and
not?
you may end up
Right,
having a friend to go places and do things with,
right,
not just.
right, right. There
Well,
was
so that brings up a question. Um, does this person have to be the same sex or the same age?
Uh, okay, let's take one after the other.
Yeah.
Another sex. Might you be so lucky? uh, Actually, I'm going to give you some sites to go on, and I read the testimonials on there, and many of the women actually have had a man move in. And they said, he's no trouble. He doesn't want anything from me. It's just a friendship, and it's actually wonderful. Because women can get a little testy, they don't like this and they don't like that. I hate to say this, but where a man is often much simpler, So yes, I mean, it doesn't have to be the same sex. And as far as age is concerned, uh, it doesn't have to be the same age either. Because if it's a young person, many people, especially in New York, I have friends, they find students from other countries.
That's
Yeah,
right.
and it's lovely. They come home in the evening and they change your life. They bring the new world into your life. Yeah. So no, it's actually
And
nice.
and
It's
they
a
understand how to work technology.
Yes, that too, and again, it's a fresh wind. It's like a fresh wind coming into your house. And
That's a good
many
way.
of these young people, they also learn from the person they're living with, you see, and
Right.
it makes them even feel a little useful or needed, and that's never a bad feeling. So it doesn't have to be the same sex, and it doesn't have to be the same age either. Yeah, and and there are organizations. Again, I don't have one, but if you go online, you will find them where students look for places, you
Right.
see,
Right.
they either students or they just got a new job, and in these big cities where they want to work, the lodging is very expensive and very
That's
rare.
right.
So there, it's a good place to actually. I was thinking of it the other day. I thought that would be a nice thing to do, and I'm still, I haven't,
Yeah.
ruled it out. It's just because it's something I think to look forward to, and make you new friends. Yeah.
When I used to have a duplex, I always rented the other unit to graduate students,
You see,
and we interacted a lot. It was wonderful. It was really
it is.
wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, now how do you know that you're going to be compatible with this person?
Actually, first I have a little bit how to find one.
Okay,
Because,
okay.
yeah, so that is I think the first question. Now you can start to talk in your community to people in the church. If you go to church,
Oh,
you can talk
yes.
to people there. You can tell your friends. You can tell acquaintances. Look, I'm looking for a roommate, and that will be a direct way. The other way is there are many sites now, and I'm going to
Right.
give you two names, and I'm going to hold them up that people can actually read them. Can
Girl,
you
you
see?
came prepared.
Oh, yes.
That's great. Roommates.com and silvernest.com. That's wonderful, Brigitte.
And when
Yeah,
you go on these sites, you can read the testimonials of people who have found somebody through that
great,
website,
great.
and they're very helpful. I think the Silver Nest, they charge a small amount, but something very minimal. I mean, like $30 or something. Yeah, they check the people out, and
Right,
that gives you an assurance you don't have somebody just walking in from the street. So
right.
that is, talking to people directly, and going on these sites and reading the testimonials will probably give you courage. Because, if
Yes.
somebody says, I really hesitated very much, or there was one woman on there, she said, I don't like dogs, and my roommate now, she doesn't like cats. And she said, so when we first met, what are we going to do? And she said, now we said we have to make it work. And she said, now the cat loves the dog and I love her.
That's
so,
great.
so
That's
I thought it
great.
was such, an example of how you can adjust, and how you can accept things. I mean, when you were living with your husband, for example, let's say, there were lots of things you had to accept. So why does a roommate now have to be perfect?
That's right.
We have to give a little, and it's a give and take. Yeah. So that's how you would find somebody. Do
Right.
a lot of, research and talk to people and go on these sites, read their testimony, ask questions, because they're all open for you to ask questions how that would work.
Right.
That's
I always feel like if you're growing, you're going to keep living, and if you're
Yes,
living with another human being, you are forced to keep growing.
yeah, yes, you're absolutely right. And your next question was how do you go about if you like them or not? Yeah,
Right.
yeah. I think it's very important to meet the person, of course, and then ask a lot of questions.
Yeah,
You know,
that was a big point. I was going to ask you, um, find out who they are, and then you have to be very clear from your side to set rules, don't you?
yeah, that's our next. Be coming to that afterwards. Exactly right. It's very important. But actually, when we meet somebody, uh, don't you have immediately the feeling you like them or you don't?
That's right.
I mean, I was always told, well, you can't judge people that quickly. But and then I became open-minded. I tried. I said, okay, I don't judge that person. Let get to know them further. And in the end, I always came back to my first impression. You meet somebody, and there's something about them you like. Yeah, they might not be perfect, but you like them, and I think
Right.
that's important. And then you
I know.
meet people, and you think, oops, no, and then you don't have to go much further. Yeah. When it comes to the rules, which was your next question, yes, there have to be rules. Yeah,
Right.
because like in everything else, if you don't have rules, it won't work. Yeah, and for example, the reaction to the person, like say you meet somebody and you think she is nice or he's nice, and now you state the rules. Their reaction to the house rules will let you know how easygoing they would be.
Very good.
You see, and now the questions which you have to ask. First of all, a house should never be bought by two people together. There have been cases where people bought a house together or a condo. No, it has to be one owner, because that one owner gives you the chance to write a lease. You see, because you have to write a lease with that person, and the lease guarantees you and that person moving in that there is an out,
Right.
that you don't have to stay there forever. You know, that there's a, like, so the ownership of one person and a lease, you know, that let's say a person has signed the lease and she doesn't like it. And you can say we write a lease for 6 months or for a year, but that person knows at the end of that lease, she can walk. She can get out without hassle, without, you know, having to explain, I'm just not renewing my lease.
Right.
And the same goes for the owner. They
Right.
can say, I don't want to, you know, renew this lease. And then there are no hard feelings.
Yeah, that's so true and very practical. I have heard of people buying houses together, and I had the same question. I thought, you know, and you know, for example, if one of them goes before the other one, and then the first one is left owning it, what if the heirs of the person who just died want to sell it? You know?
Exactly. No, you can't take that risk.
It
You know,
doesn't
you have
work.
to be, and also the person who moves in. Why should she have that responsibility? You see,
Yeah,
you know, she's paying her rent, and that's, you know, and the other person is kind of in charge. Now,
that's right.
the other thing is you have to have a house cleaner. You have to decide on cleaning, how the house is cleaned. If you both love cleaning and 1 week you clean and 1 week she cleans, fine. But otherwise, a cleaner should come in once a week and take care, you know? And of course, the ideal thing is a bedroom with a private bathroom.
Right.
And just the common areas are used together.
Right.
And when it comes to that, you have to decide about the cooking. You see, do I cook for myself? Do we cook together? If we cook together, there has to be a kitty where both people put the equal amount of money in and go shopping then, and, you know. So these all have to be decided before. Another one are visitors. Are you allowing visitors? No, I'm talking as a landlord. Am I allowing visitors? Can your family come? Can you have overnight visitors? That could be the grandchildren or a friend. That all has to be decided before. Right. Because you see, we move in and all of a sudden your daughter comes to visit and the owner says, oh, I didn't think you were going to have visitors. There's the first hurdle. Yeah. So whatever you want not to happen or to happen should be written down in the lease.
Yeah? Spelled right out.
Spelled right out, yeah. Because if you don't spell it out, there's going to be trouble. Yeah, and then also the more you kind of in the beginning let everybody be, the more you will grow together. Yeah, I mean in the beginning you might not sit together and have a cup of tea or a glass of wine, and then all of a sudden one evening there's a nice program and you will say, why don't you come and watch it together? You see, that will develop, and that's not there right away. Yeah.
That's wonderful. And it's so true. You know, I think when we're younger and when we've had roommates, we don't know who we are as much. We don't know what our habits and patterns are. But at our age, we're pretty clear about what our limits are and what we want. And so I think I think you're absolutely right. It's a gift to both of you to be very clear what you want.
What you want. I have a friend, she always says, oh, I couldn't live with anybody. And you know, and then lately she came and said, oh, you know, I think I could live with so-and-so. I didn't say anything. I said, because she's lonely. She's really lonely.
Yeah.
And so, you see, she has come to that. She said, oh, I think I could, with her, I think I could live. And I said, oh, that, you know, that's a nice idea. I didn't say, well, why did you say before you couldn't, you know? Because it's something you have to come to. And then also, if you don't write that lease too long, it's a trial. You know, or if people are even more hesitant, make it 3 months. Say, let's try it for 3 months. And then when it works, you make it a little longer, you know?
Right.
I think it is a very, I think actually, I'm sure that everybody in our age remembers the Golden Girls.
Yeah.
The program, The Golden Girls. I mean, I'm still watching it today. I just think it's charming. Now, of course, it's a bit glorified and all that, but still, they hit a good point because they were kind of not pleased with each other many times, but everybody learned to accept it and laugh it off or have it out, and then it was over.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, for myself, I feel very, very strong about this subject. The Golden Girl idea, the roommate idea, is going to save the baby boomers from having to go into homes.
I absolutely agree.
You know, and still have an independent life.
Yeah,
Because you see, your roommate, you'd go on a trip, you come home, there's somebody. I mean, for
that's
example,
right.
going on a trip and you come home and there's nobody.
Yeah,
Ah, it's
yeah.
a little, you look around, you think, oh, right, there's nobody here. So I think, you know, the Golden Girl idea is the answer for the baby boomers getting older. Yeah.
Absolutely. I love this. I think this is a terrific idea. And I think it frees up a lot of women from the feeling that they have to find a male life partner to continue
Right.
on with, because
Exactly.
that may not be in the cards.
No, that, and you know, sometimes and like this one lady on the roommate.com wrote, this man came and she was not prepared to have actually a man move in. And he was very polite. He's very nice. They live now together for over a year. He does his thing. She does her thing. He doesn't want anything personally from her. And it's a pleasure, she says, you know.
Wonderful.
She feels protected by him just being there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, that's so true. That's
and that is
absolutely true. And they can open jars.
right. And a few other things. Yeah, no, I think that's really, women just have to, you know, unfortunately, our husbands die before us, they leave us behind, and then we might have 10 or 15 years to go.
That's right.
That's a long time to be lonely or to be alone.
That's
And
right.
most of us have children, but they're over there. They're not in our house, and they don't, you know, it's a different story. And I
That's
know
right.
everybody knows about that. But I think to have somebody living with you is the answer.
I
A
think
room.
so too. I love this. I think this is going to be a very popular
And
podcast and video.
yeah, that, you know, you have to just be prepared to do a bit of homework also. And maybe you have even a friend, you know, who has never thought of it. I said that the other day to a friend. I said, you know, because we were talking about this, and I said, well, maybe, you know, it would depend with who I would be sharing my home. And I said, with you, for example, I could. And she looked at me and said, me too. You see,
Oh,
so you might have a friend who would think, who doesn't have a nice house like you have, and you know, or as much money as you have. She would be delighted to move into your nice house and be
right,
paying for
tenant, right.
a tenant. You know, not
Yes,
not free, because that makes people feel inadequate after a while.
right,
Yeah.
right.
So you can even go among your friends, or you can talk to them and say, "What would you think about a dorm mate?" And you might have one you've been friends with for since your school days, and she might not think of it, but if you think of it, she might say, "That's a great idea." Yeah. So
So
I'm all for the place.
be willing to have the conversation with the women that you know,
Yeah.
and check out those websites that Brigitte gave us. And
Yeah.
I think this is a wonderful subject, and I think it's very important. I want to give one more plug to your book.
Thank
This
you.
is Brigitte's beautiful book, Living Longer, Living Well. And as long as I'm plugging books, I'm going to plug my own,
Please.
Shopping for the Real You. And I'm going to read the subtitle because not everybody gets it. 10 Essential Steps to a Better Wardrobe for Every Woman, Fashionistas, Fashion Phobes, and the Over 50 and
Yeah.
60 and 70 and 80.
Can I just add one little thing to that after you talked
Of
about you
course.
and how, you know, how to be a fashionista and be looking nice. When you live with somebody, you make also another effort in that regard. You see, when you're all by
Oh,
yourself,
that's
it
true.
doesn't matter what you put on. Nobody sees you anyway.
That's
But if
true.
Mary is there for breakfast too, well, I'm going to comb my hair. I'm going to put another blouse. I don't want Mary to see me in my old stuff, you know. So that's another advantage. You
Very
kind of,
good point.
so your book would
Very
be
good.
just up that alley.
That's terrific. So again, Brigitte Nioche, thank you so very much.
Thank
And
you.
we'll see you again next time at Shopping for the Real You. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye bye, Andrea. Bye.